we are going for a little almost sunset stroll in the 86 Targa. And when I was looking to buy a car like this, I looked for a video that was something like the experience of owning a Targa, because I wanted to hear people talk about it. Like, is it cool to have the top off? Is it annoying? Is it nice to have the option? Is it better to get a convertible? Should you just get a coupe? I only looked at coupes. And the only reason that I bought this car was because my mechanic had redone the engine, redone the clutch, and redone the trans. So I was like, okay, well, maybe this is the only way that I can get into an air-cooled Porsche that I'm hopefully not gonna have problems with. But I wanted people to describe what it was like to drive a Targa. And so that's what I'm gonna attempt to do today. I'm in the canyons in Orange County, so I've got some windy, twisty roads that are really fun. And let's start by just saying what it's like to drive with the top off. It's surprisingly quiet. It's surprisingly not windy, unless you're sitting in the back seat. So I went on this drive with my wife and my son, and we were going on the freeway, and my wife and I were talking to each other, and we were like, wow, it's, we were going 60, 70 miles an hour. We were like, wow, it's so not windy. And then we looked back, and my son is like going nuts, like in a wind tunnel. So what I'll say is that the front seats may not be windy, but the back seats get pretty windy. It's kind of a wind tunnel. Driving with the top off in California weather, or the good months of some other states, is something that I think is undescribable. I never had a convertible, and I never really drove in any convertibles either. I always thought it just seemed annoying, and your hair would always get messed up. As you can see, my hair was done right before this video, and it's not getting messed up. An interesting thing that I wasn't expecting with the Targa is I think there's less headroom. And I don't know why that would be the case, and maybe I'm wrong, and so, please correct me if you think I'm wrong in that, but I don't notice in other air-cooled 911s that I've driven that this sun visor is right in your face. I don't notice that. And I do notice that in my car. I feel like this sun visor is constantly in the way. Another thing that's cool about a Targa, especially if you're a tall person, is getting in and out. When you have the top off, most of the time I have the top off with my car. I think that Targas look better with the top off, so I tend to always have the top off. Currently, my top is with Dan at Cars Inc. getting refurbished or rebuilt, basically getting a brand new one. So I actually don't even have a top right now. But not having a top is really nice when you're getting in and out, because you can kind of just get in straight. You don't have to do the whole ducking thing that, some of us tall people have to do when you're getting into a car. That I really like. I really wish, being a Targa owner, that the Targa top fit in the frunk without having to be folded. And I know I've seen people talk on Rentless before about moving some type of reservoir to be able to do that. And so I'm thinking about doing that, especially because I'm gonna be paying thousands of dollars to get my Targa top redone. I don't want to then bend the vinyl and have it be all, wavy and ugly. That's some of the things that people say happens. It happened a little bit with my top currently. And then you get the people on the other side of the track that say, who are you saving it for, right? Just use it how it's supposed to be used. Because it is pretty cool that you can take the top off, you know, in a minute and put it in the frunk and go. I've also done the thing where you put the Targa top in the back seat. That works pretty well. Some people on the forums say don't do that because you can cause a little divot in the middle because of where the transmission goes. The main part about having a Targa that's any special than any other 911, of course, is the top. And I think if you live in a place where the weather is not good all the time, probably not best to get a Targa. Unless, you know, I know many of you that live in, you know, Michigan, or you live in Ohio, or you live in Canada, and you live in areas where your 911 doesn't really come out year-round, it's more of a spring-summer car, then maybe it makes sense. But for me, in Southern California, we have relatively good weather year-round, so I can use the car with the top off all the time. And so I really get good use out of it. Another thing I like about the Targa is just the story, the history of how in the United States we thought that convertibles were going to be going away. So then the team at Porsche said, well, let's take some inspiration from racing and let's put a roll cage in it, basically a big roll bar, and how that turned into the hard back, or the hard window instead of the soft window. I really prefer the hard window look. I think it has like a 1960s aerospace look, even though my car is an 80s car. But it's such a classic look, and with my car being white and black, I think you get a cool contrast with the colors, having the black Targa bar and the white paint. The annoying parts about having a Targa, well, currently I don't have a top because it's getting rebuilt. But I've also done things where I don't bring the top because I'm going to be somewhere and I don't want to leave it in the back. But I guess I could put it at the top. So I will go places without the Targa top. And then, you know, you're kind of stuck. Let's say it gets really cold, or let's say it starts raining. You know, that hasn't happened to me, but it's definitely a possibility with this kind of car. So it's not a car for every day unless you're bringing the top with you. And if you're bringing the top with you, then you have to think of, are you putting it behind the seats? Are you folding it and putting it in the frunk? Like I said, I would really like the best of both worlds, which would be not having to fold it, but still being able to put it in the frunk. So I'm really gonna look into that. Oh, cool Datsun Z right there. I'm really into those cars. But the rest of the ownership of having a G-body Targa is just like a normal G-body. You've got this great 3.2 motor behind you. You've got really cool styling, great handling. You know, you have the ability of oversteer if you want it. You know, if you really want to plant that motor and accelerate around the corner, you can do that. You know, some people don't like the relatively thin tires. I think we're 6s in the fronts and 7s in the back, if I'm correct. I kind of like that. You have like this feeling of danger, imminent danger, if you don't drive correctly. So you really have to pay attention. You really have to be present in your driving. You know, one of the things about the Targa is security, especially because, like, if you're going somewhere and you keep the top off, you know, even if you lock the door, someone could just reach over the top, unlock it, open up the car, and do whatever. So this is why one of the mods that I may do is a removable steering wheel, to where if I'm going somewhere that I want to carry around a steering wheel, I could actually just take the steering wheel with me, and just as a theft deterrent. You know, on the forum, some people say maybe the best theft deterrent is just having great insurance, having agreed upon insurance. Then if the car gets stolen, you get a better car. So I do have agreed value insurance, but still, I like this car. I don't want anybody to take it. It's special to me now. You know, this is my first air-cooled Porsche. One of the things that I don't like about these old 911s is that the back seats only have lap belts. And that may be fine for many people if, you know, it's just you, or it's just you and your partner driving, or, you know, you have old kids that can sit in the front. But I have a younger child that is in a booster seat, and so he only has a lap belt. So he kind of flies around in the back, especially when we're going around curvy roads. So what I actually did was order online 3-point seat belts from this really nice guy, and I forget his name, but I'll put the company name down here. And he sells 3-point seat belts for old 911s. So I'm gonna have my mechanic put those in. That'll be really cool to have the safety, but also the original look. Because I think it was maybe in 87, or maybe it started in 964s, that we got 3-point harnesses in the back seat. I know that my dad's 964 has that, and it's really nice when you're bringing kids around to have the safety of a 3-point harness and allow them to enjoy driving in an old 911. Because I think, you know, it's great memories for me, but I think any kid that drives in a vintage car, they get that smell, you know, they that old leather, the smell of the gasoline that we have in these cars and these great motors, the sound of the motor, and start really creating some future petrol heads. I don't know if there will be petrol heads in that generation, because everything will be electric, but hopefully they'll still let us drive these old cars around. Something that I didn't realize about Targas is that people love Targas. People think they are so cool, and non-Porsche files, even, you know, non-car people know Targas. So, you know, I'll be somewhere and someone say, "Oh, Kyle, you have like that old Porsche." I'll say, "Yeah," and there would be someone else there, and I show them a picture. They're like, "Oh, it's a Targa? Oh, that's awesome. Those are so cool." You know, I think in the 911 community, Targas are like lesser of a 911, and then, you know, convertibles under that, and that kind of shows in the prices. But non-Porsche people love Targas, and I have really come to love Targas, because even when I bought this, I was kind of like, I wish it was a coupe. Did you hear that in my transmission? I wasn't going slow enough to put it in first gear. But people really love it, and so that's kind of cool. It's cool for, you know, you feel happy and proud that people like your car, you know, because we put so much effort and time and money into these cars. You know, it's nice when other people appreciate them. This car handles so well, and this is the original ride height, American, you know, US ride height, not Euro. But I can just go around these corners and it just stays planted. You know, I'm always thinking of keeping my foot down when I'm going around a corner because of the weight being in the back, but going around here, and and I'm just going through it. And I mean, for an old car, this just drives amazingly. I love going up to my house because we've got this curvy road. So it's always a fun way to finish my day when I come home from work or wherever we're going. Sometimes my wife and my kid are like, telling me to slow down because they're rolling around in the back. But this car